Can you wash the dishes without music? Can you study without opening Spotify first? Can you walk down the street without putting in your headphones? Can you drive without the radio on? Can you sit in a waiting room doing absolutely nothing without pulling out your phone? Can you fall asleep without a podcast talking you into unconsciousness? If you answered no to even one of those, you're not alone. Most people can't. But here's the real question, the one nobody asks. What exactly are you running from? Because it's not boredom. Boredom you could survive. This is something else, something closer to panic. A low-grade, quiet panic that shows up the second the noise stops. So why do some people seem to need sound just to exist? Why does silence feel less like peace and more like a threat? The easy answer is that you just like music. You have good taste. Maybe you're a creative person, and creative people need stimulation to think straight. That sounds reasonable. It's also wrong. Because if it were really about taste, you'd only reach for music when you wanted to enjoy it, not every single time your environment goes quiet, not out of reflex, not out of urgency. This isn't about taste. It's about what happens to you the moment there's nothing left to listen to. Most of our behavior looks completely normal until we look closely enough to see what it's actually protecting us from. Here on PSYNORY, we explore the invisible patterns of human behavior, because understanding people starts with understanding yourself. Let's start with the obvious question first, the one you've probably never actually sat with. What is silence, really? Most people think of it as nothing, an absence, a gap between sounds. That's the mistake. Silence isn't empty. Silence is full of everything you've been too busy to hear. Turn off the music. Turn off the podcast. Put the phone face down. Sit there. What's left? Just you. Your thoughts, unfiltered, unscheduled, uninterrupted. For a lot of people, that's the scariest room they could ever walk into. Here's something almost nobody wants to admit. It was never about the music. It's about what the music is drowning out. Think about the last time you were truly alone, with nothing playing, not 5 minutes into a task, the very first second. What did you feel? For most people, it's not relaxation. It's restlessness, an itch, a low hum of discomfort that says, "Fill this. Fill it now." That reaction has a name, even if you've never heard it. Researchers have found that many people would rather give themselves a mild electric shock than sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's how uncomfortable an unoccupied mind can be. So you reach for something, anything, a song, a voice, static even, as long as it's not silence, because in silence there's no distraction left between you and whatever you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a decision you haven't made. Maybe it's a relationship you know isn't right. Maybe it's a version of your life you were supposed to have by now and didn't. Silence doesn't create those thoughts. It just stops blocking them. And that's the part that makes people reach for their headphones before they've even noticed they're uncomfortable. But that's just the surface. There's a reason silence feels different depending on the day. And it has nothing to do with how much you like your playlist. Here's something strange that almost nobody talks about. Time moves differently depending on what's filling it. With music playing, minutes disappear. A task that should feel long, folding laundry, commuting, cleaning a kitchen, collapses into something bearable, sometimes even enjoyable. Take the music away, and the same 20 minutes can feel like an hour. Why? Because without an external rhythm to anchor you, your brain falls back on its own internal clock. And your internal clock, when left alone, tends to fixate. It notices every second. It notices how slow things are moving. It notices you. Music gives your brain somewhere else to put its attention, a beat to follow, a melody to predict, something structured, something with a beginning and an end, something that isn't just you existing in real time with nothing to hide behind. This is why the moment can drag so painfully when the sound cuts out. It's not that the task became harder, it's that you lost the thing that was making time bearable. And once you notice that, you start noticing something else. You've built an entire relationship with time where you can only tolerate it if something is playing in the background. What does that say about how you actually feel, alone with your own minutes? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Music doesn't just distract you from your thoughts, it manages your emotions for you. Feeling anxious before a hard conversation? Put on something calm, and your nervous system follows along. Feeling low? A certain song can carry the sadness for you, so you don't have to sit inside it alone. Feeling angry? There's a playlist for that too. One that lets the anger move through you without you ever having to name what triggered it. This feels helpful, and in small doses it is. But notice what's actually happening. You're not processing the emotion, you're handing it to a soundtrack. The pain is still there. It's just wrapped in something that makes it easier to carry. For now. Try feeling real sadness in complete silence, with nothing to soften it. No music, no distraction, nothing between you and the feeling. It's heavier, it's slower, it's more honest. And for a lot of people, that honesty is unbearable. So instead of feeling the emotion directly, they feel it through a filter, through a beat, through someone else's lyrics standing in for words they've never said out loud. It's not weak, it's efficient even. Music genuinely does regulate the nervous system. That part is real. But ask yourself something, honestly, in the comments if you want to admit it. When was the last time you let yourself feel something difficult without reaching for a song to carry it? If you've made it this far, you already know this channel isn't here to lecture you. We're here to help you see the patterns that run your life without asking permission first. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe. New episodes go deeper into exactly this. Now, back to the part almost nobody talks about. Here's a detail that changes how you'll think about your own playlist forever. Music doesn't just entertain you during effort. It changes how much effort feels like effort. Studies on exercise have found something almost unfair. People who listen to music while working out report significantly less perceived exertion than people who don't, even at the exact same intensity. Same heart rate, same muscles burning, less suffering, at least in the mind. The same thing happens with mental effort. Studying, working, cleaning, organizing. Tasks that require sustained attention feel lighter with the right sound in the background, which raises an uncomfortable question. If music makes effort feel smaller, what does silence make effort feel like? The truth is, in silence, effort feels like exactly what it is. Heavy, slow, real. No trick, no shortcut, no soundtrack convincing your brain this is easier than it actually is. Some people can tolerate that honesty. Most can't. So instead of learning to sit with real effort, real boredom, real discomfort, they build a permanent crutch, one they now can't function without. Ever notice how hard it is to focus in a completely silent room, even when you're trying your hardest? That's not a lack of discipline. That's withdrawal. Here's the layer underneath all of this, the one most people never reach, because they never sit still long enough to find it. Music isn't just a distraction. For a lot of people, it's company. Think about how many times you've put music on not because you wanted to hear a specific song, but because the room felt too empty without it. Too quiet, too alone. That's not about the music at all. That's about loneliness. Not necessarily the loneliness of having no one around. Plenty of people who are surrounded by others every day still can't stand an empty room. This is a different kind. A loneliness with yourself. A discomfort with your own presence, when there's nothing else competing for your attention. Music becomes a stand-in, a voice in the room that isn't yours. A presence that asks nothing of you and never leaves. It's safer than real connection in a way. A song can't disappoint you. A song can't leave. A song can't ask hard questions. But it also can't actually see you. It can't sit with you the way a real relationship can. It just fills a space where that used to be, or where it hasn't happened yet. And here's the part that stings a little. If you can sit in complete silence with another person and feel completely at ease, but can't sit in silence alone, the problem was never silence. The problem is who you become when no one else is in the room. So, where's the line? When does needing background noise turn into something worth paying attention to? Here's a version of that line in case you've never had to think about it. If you can sit in silence occasionally and it feels neutral or even good, that's not a problem. That's just preference. But if the idea of an hour with no sound genuinely makes you anxious, if you feel a specific kind of dread the second your phone battery dies and you're stuck with just your thoughts, if you've never actually sat down and asked yourself what you're avoiding, that's worth noticing, because dependency doesn't usually look dramatic. It looks like this: reaching for your phone before you've even registered discomfort, filling every gap automatically, feeling a flicker of panic in a waiting room with no Wi-Fi. It's not about the music being bad. Music is one of the most beautiful tools humans have ever built for feeling less alone. The problem isn't the tool. The problem is when the tool becomes the only thing standing between you and yourself. Here's what almost nobody actually says out loud. You don't have a problem with silence. You have a problem with what silence forces you to hear. Your own thoughts, unedited, unscheduled. The version of you that shows up when there's nothing left to perform for distract with, or hide behind. And once you see that clearly, it stops being about music at all. It becomes a question about how well you actually know yourself when nobody, not even a song, is standing between you and your own mind. So, here's something to sit with, if you're brave enough. Try it. Not forever, just once. Turn off the music. Put the phone somewhere else. Sit in a room and let it be quiet, really quiet. The first few minutes will feel unbearable. Your brain will scream for something to fill the gap. That's normal. That's the withdrawal talking. Stay a little longer. Somewhere past the discomfort, something else usually shows up. Not answers, necessarily. Just you. The version that's been buried under years of noise, waiting for a moment quiet enough to finally speak. Maybe you'll never love silence. Some people are wired for stimulation, and that's not a flaw. But maybe you're not actually someone who hates silence. Maybe you're just someone who's never given it a fair chance to say what it's been trying to say all along. The silence was never your enemy. It was just waiting for you to stop running long enough to listen. So, be honest in the comments. When was the last time you sat in complete silence with nothing playing on purpose? Most people won't be able to answer that, which in itself says everything.